Hey, it's David Beckham, Breeze Flippers, back in our shipping room, laundry room. I got a few orders to ship out for this weekend. We ended up having about 14 orders overall for the weekend. We had 5 come out between Friday and Saturday morning that we actually shipped on Saturday to kind of get ahead of things. And we got 9 orders going out today. I thought I'd talk about the orders that we got and then maybe talk a little bit about what we do at the end of the year, the things that we're going to do to try and get some sales, because there's a lull between Christmas and the New Year's, and people aren't all buying and everything. So we're going to talk about a few things that we're going to do to see if we can kind of spur some business. So let's take a look and see what we sold. First of all, we had 9 sales going out, so a few things, not real big money sales. It's kind of weird this weekend, and a few little things are going out. Some of the stuff's pretty low end. We're still running our 30% off sale, 15% off pop culture stuff, so comics and such. But so some of these are pretty low dollars, but they're also been on a lot of them 30% off, and we've been trying to get our inventory down. We're sitting on about 1,400 items in our store, which is not a bad thing. It's just more things to kind of shoot at, I guess. But the bottom line is that we know we have some stuff that's sitting there that is kind of stagnant. So we're going to do some stuff and talk a little bit about some of the sales and some of the things that I'm going to try and do to try and spur some business and try to move some items so that we can kind of do a full inventory probably in January to kind of see where we're at and run the numbers and see what we did. But let's take a look at a few things that sold. First of all, we have the some music CDs. This is a 10-pack brand new music CDRs. 700 megabyte discs. Picked this up at a garage sale, I'm sure. I know I didn't pay very much. I wouldn't have paid very much. It ended up going out at 30% off. It ended up selling for $5.99, and we're getting $5.99 shipping. This has been something that's been sitting in our inventory for a while. We picked this up at a garage sale this summer, and I actually picked up several of them. It's kind of hard to see through it, but it is a Bratz doll, little Bratz doll. It's probably an older one. And this was a Target exclusive. It's vintage, I think 2004. It's 20 years old, so I guess it's vintage. But it ended up selling for $13. We're getting $5.99 shipping. It was on a 30% off sale. I think there was 20 people watching this, and it just never sold. So we thought maybe the 30% off, we'd finally got it to sell. I figured somebody would buy it at Christmas. So one of the other things that we sold that I picked up, I think I picked this up off of a Dibd auction. I'm almost positive I did, but it's a Kingdom Heart keyblade and piece charm necklace piece. So these are all like charm necklaces. They're kind of cool. I sat for a little while and never really sold. Ended up putting it on 30% off. It ended up selling for $13.99. We're getting $5.99 shipping. Hopefully that'll ship out in a fairly good size padded envelope, and we'll get that out. So before we look at the next thing, one of the things that we're going to take a look at is what we're thinking about. We have a sale that's running, so all of our sales are going to end promptly at midnight the 23rd. Why the 23rd? Just felt like a good night, kind of push it through. Typically last year, if we looked at our numbers, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, pretty slow sellers. Nothing's going to probably get shipped out on Christmas Eve unless it sells the day before. And then of course, we'll ship everything on the 26th. But so we're going to end those sales. And then what I'm going to do is take a look and see where we're at on inventory and figure out the items that have been sitting in the store the longest. I'm probably going to run a 50% off inventory clearance sale. Just try to move a bunch of stuff just to try to kind of free up some space in the bins. Because traditionally spring is the best time that we have at garage selling. Now we did have a good weekend this weekend. I actually ended up picking up some great comic deals. A super nice guy that I met is actually an eBay seller. Didn't have a whole lot of money in the comics. I have the video for that. Maybe I'll show that at some point, but I ended up picking up some really great comics for around $60, and I picked up a whole box of, I think about 24 or 25 Nintendo NES and Super NES games that I got to test and clean, but those will sell too, and we've been selling pretty good on those games. So, but it was a good garage sale weekend, but spring is much better for us typically. We do a lot better in the springtime. So we want to clear out some inventory space. So we're going to run some 50% off sales. I'm going to look at some things that have been in there for a while and try to consolidate and move some bins around. And we're also going to kind of inventory. So we're going to take 1 or 2 bins at a time, go through it, make sure it's listed, see what it's been in there for, and then kind of reorganize a little bit, because you know things get crazy all year long, and when you work full-time and you're doing this part-time, you don't have all the time in the world to continuously keep up with that inventory. So that's one of the things that we're definitely going to have to take a look at, and that 50% off sale will do that. Now we'll also probably run some specials on comics, because right now I'm not selling a bunch of high-end comics. I get a few offers here and there, really lowball bad offers. Somebody offer me $50 for a graded Venom, I think #3 comic. You know, the fair market value is $120. They offer me $50. No, I'm not desperate to sell them. So that's the one thing about being a collector and a reseller. It's hard to be a collector and a reseller because everything has a price in my head. But I am a collector too at heart, and so I do collect comics, and I do like to keep a hold of them, and I am not going to give them away. So then we'll probably run a sale though on some of them to try to move a few, because we're sitting on about 125 to 140 graded comics, and some of those aren't going to stay. You know, I'm going to sell them at some point. So, but anyway, so those are some of the things that we're going to work on. But here's a few more things that sold. This hat, I got this hat at a at a yard sale. I think I picked it up for I think I paid $2 for it. I'm positive I didn't pay more than $2 for it. But it is a Yeti hat. I honestly thought this would sell the moment I put it up, because Yeti at that time is just, it was huge, right? So it's very popular. It's a cool hat. It's got red stripe or stitching in it. So it's kind of neat. It's got a little red fade though in the white, which isn't a big deal. It had been sitting in my bins, so it was a little bit malformed. So a lot of times what I'll do, especially on the nicer hats, I will take them out and steam them, and then maybe put a little bit of this is one of the things I will use, heavy finish faultless starch. I will spray it down, kind of rub it in a little bit, and then I will blow dry it, and it does a really good job at reforming the hat and keeping it nice. And this is a foam hat, so you definitely want to try and keep it shaped, because somebody doesn't want to get this hat and then, you know, they want to wear it up top of their head, they want it to stand straight up. So that's kind of the way they're going to do it. But this did sell for $11.19. Again, 30% off, because it had been sitting in there for a while. We will get $4.99 shipping for it. So, but I'm kind of happy to see it go, because like I said, it has been sitting in that inventory for a long time. I just couldn't believe it wouldn't sell. And here's another hat that, honest to God, I believe with all my heart there's definitely a hat for every head. So somebody out there definitely has I mean, it's crazy to me. This thing's a Fly Society hat. I've never heard of it. I looked it up, and it is like a group of some sort, but it's Fly Society, and it's a nice looking hat. But I picked it up for, I think, $1, and it sat in our inventory because I just thought it was cool, and I thought, oh yeah, this will sell. Yeah, it didn't. So I ended up on the 30% off sale at $6.99, $4.99 shipping. That's going to go out. Another one's going out, some toys, and obviously I figured some of these things would sell, and it took a while. This is something I probably will never buy again. I bought a big lot of these at one point, and these are Tech Decks skateboards. Now there are a few Tech Deck skateboards that are worth more than $10 or $15 or $20. I mean, there's a few, very few, and they're pretty rare. And you can see on the back they have the ratings and stuff for what they were. I think these ran their course. You know, they were popular at one time. I don't know that they're that popular anymore. I'm still sitting on about 10 left out of this big lot that I bought. So I was kind of hoping they'll sell. They may end up in my booth, because I think they might sell well down there with the kids that come down and stuff. So, but this ended up going for $6.79. We'll get $5.99 shipping. Another thing that's going out, these are vintage Matchbox, and I think they had a special name. They're called Matchbox Action Pack sets. So this is a construction and emergency set, but these are vintage, and I want to say they were let's see, I got to look it up and see. I think they were 1990. Yep, 1990. So pretty old. So there's 3 in here. This is a full 3 sets. This set sat in there for a while. This was at I think I probably talked about it before, but we bought a bunch of farm equipment, like die-cast farm equipment, a while back at a estate sale. And this was part of that in there. And I saw these and actually comped them out. I was looking at them. I was like, well, man, those are actually pretty good. So they were selling each individually. Some of them would sell them for $8, $9, $10, but I lotted them up because I figured they'd sell better. So I ended up getting $20.39. Might be my biggest sale today, to be honest with you. $20.39. We're gonna get $6.99 shipping, and that's gonna head out, heading all the way up to Maryland. So wouldn't be a good weekend if I didn't sell at least one comic, I always feel like. So I did sell one comic. It's a kind of an interesting one. It's a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now, story is behind this is kind of funny because this comic is a comic that I've had in my inventory before I started selling comics. This was actually one of my daughters, and so she didn't want it anymore. She had, I think, a couple of them, and then I had a couple of them that are from Loot Crate. I sold a few of them that were from Loot Crate. No idea at the time that one of them had a lot more value than I even realized because it sold so fast. It was a remake of the first Superman comic. But so this has been sitting in my inventory. I actually had to spend a half an hour tonight to find this because I didn't know where I put it. It wasn't numbered. It wasn't anything. So that's the other reason why it's important to check your inventory every once in a while. You need to go through it and look at it. And at the end of the day, yeah, we try to do our best to keep things in line, but at least once a year, maybe twice a year, it's not a bad idea to go through your inventory, see what you have out there, make sure things that you have are listed, and make sure that if they're listed, make sure they're correct. And at some point, you got to check them, because if you listed something a year ago, the prices may be totally different now. They may be up higher, they may be down lower. So you've got to really look at a lot of stuff. And that's why you can't just kind of set it and forget it. Unfortunately, this business requires you to kind of keep going back to the well and trying to figure out why it's not selling, why it's not going. How can you get more views on it? How can you get somebody to look at it more? And that's done through a lot of things, either promotion or better titles or better keywords somewhere in there. So you're gonna have to do that. But this only sold for $5 and $5.94, and I'll get $5.99 shipping. But we found it and it's leaving, which is great. Also, always happy, but I like selling the games. Again, we sold another set of games, and this is a set of 6 Wii games. Looks like we got Rampage, Total Destruction. We got King of Clubs, so a golf game, TV show, King Party, Thrillsville, Family Game Night, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So these are in good shape. These are going out. This was part of that big game buy that I made. Again, had it discounted down because we're trying to move some of these games. Ended up taking $9.97. I haven't sold a lot, really. There's only a few Wii games that sell really well, but this was one of them that we got $9.97 for. I'll get $7.99 shipping on it, and hopefully it's not going too far away. Utah. Well, all right, so it's going to Utah. So it's going to be every bit of that $7.99 to ship it. But so that's kind of what we have going out. I think we had a total of $160 something dollars. Yeah, it's right around $160 going out today. For the weekend, it was around $250, and for the week, we've got just under $700 in sales. So not as good as the past few weeks, but I fully expected that it wouldn't be as good as the past few weeks. So as Christmas gets closer, now we've missed the shipping deadline. You're kind of past that. Everything that you're getting at this point is after Christmas. So, and that's, there's still going to be people that are going to want to do that. But we got to be ready for after Christmas when people start, they want to spend their Christmas money, right? So we want to get some of those sales in there, and that's why we want to run some of those inventory reduction sales to try and see if we can get people to purchase, some of those items and move them out of our inventory so that we can kind of have a clean slate. I'm only going to run that sale probably till the end of the first, and then I'll end that sale. Then I'll probably run another one after that. So one of the things that we're going to do in the business for next year is I'm not going to run sales for longer times. I think what I'm going to start doing is running these shorter sales, make them more specialized, and try to keep the algorithm really, looking at things and trying to push things along. Because you notice every time a sale starts, we tend to do pretty good. As the sale lags on, it slows down. So, and that could be that, in initial, they push it out, you get more push on it in the front end, and on the back end, it doesn't get as much push. Now, I'm not an expert on the algorithm, but that seems to be the way it works for us, or at least the way I see it. We'll also probably try to bump up our promotions. We run a straight 2% promotion on all of our items. And I was running in the past I was running between 5 and 8%. And I've slowly worked my way back down to about 2%. And the reason why is because I wasn't seeing a big difference between, you know, if we ran it at 5% and did the let it where it adjusted, you know, we set it at 8% as the max, and we let it adjust and go. We noticed that every sale was 8%. It didn't matter. It was always 8%. So I'm like, and it didn't really help. I mean, we would have sold it, I think, for 5%, or we would have sold it for 3%. It never really made a big difference as far as where we could see it. So we started moving everything at 2%. Works for us. We get enough sales. If I really want to move something, I'll bump it up to maybe 5 or 8% and let it kind of go a little bit more. But I just can't see giving eBay more than 5 or 8%. It just doesn't seem like it's going to work for us. At least it doesn't for our business as far as our model goes, because we try to price things pretty competitively. And if I'm already at about, and I think I looked at our numbers for the year. If we look at the total percentage of what eBay is getting, it's about 15%, right? And that's across the board with everything. So we're about 15% of our total sale. So, we don't want it to go much higher than that. So I kind of estimate, my estimation is 25% of whatever our cost, whatever we sell it for. I figured that's business cost, right? So I've always tried to figure it in that way. So when we figure up our pricing, we try to buffer that a little bit in there. And the biggest thing too this year, we got to look at shipping prices. That's just the way it is. Part of the business, it's going up. And if you haven't noticed it yet, shipping prices right now, of course, for Christmas, it's worse. But if USPS stays on the normal track, is at the end of the holiday season, there's always a price increase. And, it's whenever there's a major season, they price increase. And looking at what the USPS, I think how many billions they are in the negative for the year for operating costs, you can count on there's going to be a raise of some sort of prices. So we just have to be kind of prepared for that. So I'm going to have to make the big decision as to how I'm going to do that, whether I'm going to raise the prices on my items and keep my shipping rates the same, or whether I'm going to raise my shipping rates and keep my item prices the same. So that's a kind of a hard decision, that we got to make. Also with Mercari, we did have a Mercari sale somewhere in there this week, but not much, right? So Mercari's been kind of slow. Kind of hoping that once they flip that back and start charging us the flat 10%, and that customers, whatever the minuscule, amount that they're going to charge them, which I can't remember what it was, $3 and something, or whatever they're charging them for that service charge that they're doing. I'm hoping that at least the sales pick back up again, because we were doing okay. We were having, a couple sales a week on Mercari, which kind of helps to buffer things, especially when there's like slow times. And it also, with Mercari, some of the things are just a little easier to do. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. But they did send out an email that you have an automatic, you can actually put it in there to automatically raise your prices up 10%. So we are going to do that and let that bump up, because we did lower them when that happened. We actually used the auto lower and lowered everything 10%. So as we've been putting stuff in Mercari, we've been trying to balance that and trying to keep the rates, a little bit lower so that we could try to entice people to buy, which we had a few buyers, but honestly, that was probably their biggest mistake they've ever made. So, but you live and learn. It took Poshmark 2 weeks to figure it out that it wasn't going to work. It took Mercari a little bit longer. So, but anyway, that's what's going out this week. I think being the holiday week, obviously, probably not going to have as many videos, but I am going to try and put out at least 1 or 2 more for this week, just to kind of maybe show what's either going on or some of the things that we're doing. Talk about some of the business planning for next year. I always like to try to think if we could do a recap of the year and maybe look and see what our total sales were, so that you could see as a part-time seller, if you're thinking about getting into this business, or you're thinking about doing something you're reselling, this might be a good opportunity for you to take a look at it and say, is it for you? Is it not for you? And we'll try to be upfront as much as possible with what it costs to run a business, because obviously we can look at the numbers. Numbers always show pretty good, but in reality, that's numbers look great. Somebody could say, oh yeah, I'm $90,000 for 3 months, or $90,000 for the year, but what's your profit, right? So once you start looking at what the profit is, how much gas you spend, how much, everything else, that's part of it. So we do a lot of stuff, and especially at the end of the year too, book work, got to catch all that up and make sure everything's ready, because end of the year, you got to do taxes, unfortunately. They come around every year, like death and taxes. You can't do anything about them. So So we got to be ready for that too. So that's all kind of the whole preparation thing, and we'll touch some on that and kind of go through what the things that we go through. So, but that's it for the day. And like I said, not a great weekend, not the worst weekend, and we aren't skunked, and that's what's important, right? So we got some stuff going out, and if it stays on tradition, typically we get a few more sales overnight. And Mondays have been pretty good, so we'll see. Maybe it'll be a busy Monday again. The booth has been doing pretty good at our vendor, at the vendor mall. It's been a pretty good week, actually a good month out there. So we've been real happy. We've moved a lot of merchandise out there as well. So maybe we'll take a video out there and take a look at it. So, but that's all for me today. I'm David Beckham, Breeze Flippers. Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a great time and safe time with your family. God bless.